Yes, Marco.
Today we can conclude topic of evolution.
Okay.
To begin, I can repeat some facts.
Yes.
First about creation. When we talk about creation, we talk from metaphysical point of view. First we have Anand Chit Sat, then Chit Sat, and finally we have Honor Sat.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have to bear in mind that Brahman is Anand.
Mm-hmm.
That is the story of creation, in short. On the other hand, when we talk about evolution, we talk from experiential point of view. First we have Sat, then Sat Chit, and finally Sat Chit Anand. That is story of evolution, also in short. And now we come to my question. My question is this. Is transition from Sat to Sat Chit a process, or it happens instantly, momentarily? And the same question is for transition from Sat Chit to Sat Chit Anand.
The transition from
Sat to Sat Chit and from Sat Chit to Sat Chit Anand.
Yes, so the transition from the Sat to Satchit and Satchidanand. That transition.
And from Satchit.
Yes, go ahead.
And from Satchit then to Satchitanand. I was wondering, is that a process that lasts or that happens instantly, momentarily? That transition.
I understand the question. So, the transition from Sat to Satchit and Satchit to Satchidanand. Yes. That transition is not bound to one particular model, whether it is momentarily or whether it is spontaneous. The transition basically, as I shared yesterday with you, that it is mostly governed by the desire of that Brahman. It's mostly governed by the other aspect, which is the emotions, the intensity of emotions, and the intensity, basically the overall intensity of the conscious being from the multiple dimensions perspective will lead to the elevation of a mere Sad aspect to a Satchid and so on and so forth to Satchidanand. So I don't think, it is my personal view, I do not have a specific example or specific statement as said by Sri Mahaprabhuji Sri Vallabhacharya ji, but I can understand through the implications, through the implied meaning, though not said explicitly, but so far my limited knowledge is concerned, I can understand by the implications of whatever I have read is it is not limited to a spontaneity or a moment, or it could be a momentary transition as well. And then some of the examples that I have seen, I am saying this based on the examples that a mere physical looking, prima facie physical looking, the inanimate idol can immediately, due to the the emotional attachment, the emotional response expressed, the intensity of the emotions expressed by the devotee again with that idol, no more leads to just merely an idol, but it elevates to Brahman. So in that sense, from the devotional perspective, devotional aspects perspective, path of devotion aspects perspective, I do not think that it has to be one or the other. It could be anything. It could be any model. So for example, when Krishna descended on the earth, Lord Shri Krishna immediately caught the attention, immediately managed to get the attention from all those beings who were not even interested in knowing the Brahman, in all those beings who did not even know how to attain Brahman. Those beings were attracted. They were attracted towards Krishna just mere by the presence of the Krishna only. So that is one aspect, just mere the power of the Krishna at that time, that everybody got attracted towards him. And so that is spontaneous. You see? So in the Venu Geet, in one of the Leela of Krishna, when he plays the flute, the Venu, and even the cows got enchanted, even the inanimate river, Yamuna, though we say it is inanimate, but as per our yesterday's discussion, every sad aspect has an Ananda aspect and Chid aspect latent in it. And that playing of the flute triggered the transition or manifestation of that Ananda or bliss in the river, Yamuna. And Yamuna, the flow of Yamuna was changed by that mere sound of that flute, because Yamuna ji got enchanted with that call by Lord Krishna when he was playing the flute. So think about it. It is spontaneous in that sense. Think about that.
Yes.
Versus now, in the modern time, when Lord Krishna himself has not descended on the earth, at that time, meaning today's time, it is expected that you follow the respective paths to attain that Lord Krishna. And while we are following the path to attain him, it is expected out of the devotee that he bears with the patience in mind that the transition within himself and the transition, the subject to which he is devoted towards, which is the Lord Krishna's idol in the first place. The subject of devotion and the devotee, it is not going to be spontaneous. It has to bear the patience, has to go through the process of sadhana, because Lord Krishna himself has not descended on the earth. He has not expressed, he has not manifested on the earth as he did during the Saraswat Kalpa, when he manifested himself amongst the Brajbasis, among the people of Gokul or among the people of the Braj. The same thing is not, here today at this time, and thus it may not be spontaneous transition. It will be a momentary transition. So it depends. And thus to summarize my answer, I would say it is not restricted. You cannot restrict that.
So it can happen instantly, momentarily, or it can be also a process.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is why the same model is basically expressed in a different way in terms of classifying the souls. When the souls emerge from the Brahman, Mahaprabhuji classifies the soul, not the body, the soul. When they emerge from Brahman, Mahaprabhuji classifies all the souls in three major categories. There can be other minor categories as well within themselves. But three major categories Mahaprabhuji has defined and classified all the souls. One is the Pravahi, meaning those souls that are bound to be not attaining that Brahman. They will never attain that Brahman. Ultimately, when the whole creation merges within that Brahman, obviously everything will be merged into that Brahman. Obviously, those souls will also attain the Brahman. I am not talking about that stage. What I am talking about the stage during the creation and sustaining mode of the creation. The soul, the first type of soul, which is Pravahi soul, is bound to circle around in the births and deaths, or the circle of birth and death. They will go through that circle. They will go through that life cycle and never attain him. So that's the first kind of soul. Second type of soul, Sri Mahaprabhuji says, is the Maryada, meaning he would attain, that soul will attain that Brahman. But Brahman expects from that soul to follow the relevant process to attain him. Thus the transition from Chid and to Anand, that transition expects the devotee to follow the process. Follow the process and you will attain me. That type of soul is called as Maryada. And that the third type of soul, Mahaprabhuji says, wherein Brahman do not expect any kind of process to be followed, any kind of means to attain him, does not expect any kind of means, or rather any kinds of expectations from the devotee. He just wishes that he will attain him and the devotee will attain him. And that the third category is basically a spontaneous instant. The second category is basically has to go through the process. And the third and then the first category, so I kind of mixed the sequence. The first category, which is Pravahi, will never have it, will never be able to transition. The second will have to go through the process of transition. Third, no expectations. It will have an instant, spontaneous transition. So, from that perspective also, and again, the third category, I forgot to name it, but it is called as Pushti souls. So, Pravahi soul, Maryada soul, and Pushti soul. Pushti, Pravah, Maryada. And that types of, and I'm not saying that it is restricted to only these three classification, classes. Yes, there will be sub classes as well, classification as well. Within Pushti, there is Pushti Pravahi, Pushti Maryada, and then so on and so forth. There's a permutations and combinations possible. So that having said that, what we are, most of us in today's time, most of us, even though we are following Sri Vallabhacharya ji, and even though we are following all the rituals and all the practices as laid out by our acharyas, even though we, in today's modern time, we are not pure Pushti beings, we are not pure. We will have to still, we have some mixture of Maryada, and thus that's why we do not, we have to follow that process of following the rituals of seva, wherein we will, at the end, we will be able to attain a seva is not mere ritual, but the seva is basically an involuntary action. When that happens, that's the time when we as a chid, I as a chid, will transition, and we will, and I will have Ananda aspect manifested in myself. And if you want to see the examples, if God graces me and Shri Vallabhacharya ji graces me, I wish that should have, I wish that happens with me as well. But if you want to see the live examples of the transitions, you should read Varta Sahitya, 84 and 252 Vaishnava Varta Sahitya, where these are the real examples where the transition has happened with these types of Pushti souls.
And those are biographies of Vaishnavas.
Those are the biographies of the Vaishnavas, correct.
Okay. Okay, that is pretty clear now. I have another question.
Okay.
That question is about correspondence. I wonder if there is one-to-one correspondence between Sat and matter, Chit and consciousness, and finally Anand and bliss. Is that one-to-one correspondence, or is more to Sat, more to Chit, and more to Anand than matter, consciousness, and bliss?
So think about Anand encompasses everything. Meaning Anand encompasses Sad and Chid. There cannot be Anand without Chid. And there cannot be Chid without Sad. You see what I'm saying? So don't think as one-to-one. Think about one is containing the other. That is how the relation is defined. So one is the container and the other one is the one being contained in.
Yes, when we go from Anand, when we start with Anand, because Anand also implies Chit and Sat, so there is no one-to-one correspondence, of course. But let's take only Sat. Can we apply that correspondence one-to-one to Sat and say that Sat equals matter?
You can say that. Yes, you can say that. But do not confine yourself that since you have said that, that means that Chid is not Sad or Anand is not Sad. Don't come to that conclusion is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, of course, they are latent.
Yes.
When there is only Sat, those two are latent.
Yes, you can say that then in that case.
Okay. And I have only one question left now, and that is about the body. This question is about body. What about when a living being dies? Then we have a dead body, and are Chit and Anand still latent in that dead body? That's my question.
When a person or
A living being.
a living being dies,
Yes.
what happens as per the scriptures of Ved, as per the Vedic scripture description, is that the soul gets separated out of the body, because soul has been staying within the body during the lifetime, and when the living being dies, the soul gets separated out of the body, and the soul what literally travels, has to go through a journey, which I was mentioning in the last session, as per
Yes.
Panchagni Vidya in Upanishad. So the soul has to go through the whole journey, while the body which has been left will have to go through the decomposition process or other types of rituals where the body is put to rest and allowed to decompose.
Okay. But what about the dead body and those attributes, Anand, Chit and Anand? Are they still present in that dead body?
They are present, but they are not manifested.
So even in the dead body, they are still present.
Even in the dead body, even in the table, even in the house, everything is latent, but it is there.
Mm-hmm.
But the dead body, think about it. When a dead body gets decomposed, and I'm trying to give you an insight, develop an insight. When a dead body is decomposed,
yes,
the chemicals, the nutrients, the elements gets also basically gets separated out during the decomposition process. That might result into transforming the dead body into soil, for example. Might. That soil will give rise to plants. That plants will be eaten by the human being some point of time as a food, or animal will eat the plants as the food.
yes.
And they will again get decomposed as part of the digestion and may get converted into sperms and may lead to the birth of another living being. You see? So the fact that we are not able to dissect and zoom in into the details of as to what happens to the dead body with the minutest details, that's why we are not able to comprehend that how can a dead body have consciousness latent in it. You see, so that might be the one another model, which Panchagni Vidya has rightly said that. So the chemicals get the flow of the elements, the flow of chemicals that got decomposed from the dead body may become the food for some other living being, which may give rise to a birth of another living being.
Yes.
So we have no problem in accepting that theory. We are completely open. But at the same time, there is a distinction between the inanimate or jada shushti or inanimate creation and animate creation. And the prima facie level, not at the Brahmic level, because as I mentioned, Brahmic level, everything has everything in it, though latent or manifested. You see? But from the creation's perspective, there is a separation. From the Brahman's perspective, there is no separation, which I did explain with that example. So, from the creation perspective, yes, the inanimate creation will have to go through the transformation process. The animate creation, which is souls, do not go through the transformation process. Do not go through the degeneration process. Do not go through the decomposition process. The souls do not get decomposed. The souls do not transform. The souls do not grow big or small. The souls remains constant, eternal. The body, it's the body that undergoes those transformations. With that point of view, yes, there is a differentiation between the animate creation and inanimate creation. But when we want to understand the Brahmic identity from the Brahman's perspective, the identity between inanimate and animate creation, this is one of the example I am giving you from Panchagni Vidya that you should think about and allow you to logically think, allow you to logically comprehend. How can that be possible? This is how it is possible. One of the experiments that one of the scientists did, and I mentioned the name of the scientist before. I keep on forgetting the name of that scientist. But that scientist did an experiment within his lab, and he mimicked all the environmental attributes at the time of creation that he believed might be in his lab. And when he created that, he mimicked that environment of the creation, he actually ended up creating a living being. How can that be possible? This is possible only when there is a relation of identity between inanimate and animate. Because how can he create how can he have the creation of animate objects out of inanimate objects? How? This is how. Then, and that is why in the Vedic scriptures it is written that there are several types of creation. One of the creation types is Jarayuj, Svedaj, Andaj. And Svedaj type of creation means out of your sweat the living beings are created. And that's true scientifically. You keep your body uncleaned, dirty, and you will see the impact. The germs will be created. The viruses will be created. The bacteria will be created. Are they not animate?
Yes, they are.
And where are they getting created from? From the environment. From your sweat.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ved has been clearly saying that look, an animate object is getting created out of inanimate object. And an inanimate object can also create animate object. There is no watertight compartment from the Brahman's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
To restrict that animate is animate and inanimate is inanimate. which Ramanujacharya believes like that. Vallabhacharya do not believe like that. Ramanuj believes that animate is animate, inanimate is animate, animate cannot become inanimate, cannot become inanimate, animate, and animate cannot become inanimate. There's a clear-cut distinction. That's not the case with Vallabhacharya.
Okay.
So, to conclude that.
Yes. I have two minor questions. Still. When body decomposes, the skeleton is left. And what about that? Are Chit and Anand even in skeleton? I don't. It is kind of bizarre question.
You're dissecting it really. As I told you, there is no object in this world that has the consciousness absolutely absent. There is no object which has absolute absence of consciousness and Anand. Absolutely none. Because everything is Brahman and everything is Anand. Moment you accept that, you allow a huge logical pitfall in Brahmavad. So we cannot allow that. So I would still say that there is no object in this universe which has absolute absence of consciousness and bliss. There's no object.
Okay. And one more minor question. When we ignite body, when we put it in fire, what then happens?
It goes through the laws of physics and gets decomposed and gets submerged into the 5 elements: air, fire, and so on and so forth. And then again.
And then in that elements still there are Chit and Anand present as well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now I get it. Now it is good.
Now it is good.
It is good. With that, we can conclude this topic of evolution.
Okay. Great. Okay, so we can talk next time.
Sure, and when? Next week? When?
Next week.
Saturday or Sunday?
Yes, next week, Sunday would be fine.
Okay, Sunday next week. Thank you.